Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Joe Royal. And today on the show, we're going to be looking for the purple banana till they throw us in the truck, because we're going to be talking about the new release, Prince, Purple Rain Ultimate Collector's Edition. This is the 4-disc set version. There's also a 2-disc version, which is just discs 1 and 2 of the set. We're going to be talking about the 4-disc version, though, which is disc 1, Purple Rain 2015 Remaster, overseen by Prince. More on that in a second. Disc 2, unreleased rarities and songs from the vault. Disc 3, which is single edits and B-sides, which is 7-inch versions and extended versions. And Disc 4, Prince and the Revolution Live from Syracuse 1985 for the first time ever on DVD. There's also a 36-page, pretty thick, chunky booklet that comes with essays and liner notes and previously unseen pictures. There's a track-by-track breakdown of the Purple Rain album by the Revolution and lyrics to the songs and all sorts of other stuff. It comes in this nice fold-out case, which houses all your discs. The original artwork on the front, it has elements of the original artwork. This is the poster that used to be included in the original album. The cover looks similar to the Purple Rain album, except it's silver instead of being white. Now, this was originally slated to come out like 2 or 3 years ago, after Prince had renegotiated his contract with Warner Brothers Records around the time that he put out Artificial Age and Plectrum Electrum with Third Eye Girl, his band then. But it got pushed back, didn't quite make the 30th anniversary, and then unfortunately, as we know, Prince died in 2016, which put a further spin on delaying things as they were trying to work out legalities and who owns this, that, or the other thing. And despite the fact that it's the Ultimate Collector's Edition, the claim at the top of it, it's kind of actually far from it. For one, an Ultimate Collector's Edition probably would have included a version of the Purple Rain movie as part of the package. But they figured people have that already anyway, so they threw in a different DVD with this. But that's not to say there isn't great stuff on it, and we're going to break it all kind of down disc by disc, but I'm just going to, right off the bat, just going to state that pretty much what you get out of this is this set, is going to depend on what you want out of it and kind of what you're willing to settle for out of it. Now, disc 1 of the set is Purple Rain 2015 Remaster. Now, while it's overseen by Prince, really that just means I had this other guy who I kind of trusted to do it, which is a guy named Joshua A.M. Welton. Memory serves, he was the guy who was the engineer on Prince's Hit and Run, the disc 1, which wasn't really that great sounding of a disc, and as such, as you may or may not have suspected, this is kind of a compressed brick-walled mess of a remaster. Now, what that means is, like, if you're an audiophile, you know, you kind of know what that means. If you're not, you may not notice it. You know, you might listen to this and think, hey, this sounds great, and if you do, more power to you. But if you are, what essentially that means is that they squashed all the dynamics of the sound. All the subtle dynamics from the bottom, the middle, and the highs. They kind of just compressed it all down to this one, like, taut package in the middle. And usually that results in the sound having a louder and kind of punchier sound. It kind of brings the bottom end a little bit, but at the expense of all the great dynamics that are there otherwise, like the high end and the mid ranges and all that stuff. And it gets very fatiguing on the ear, especially at loud volumes, and it can cause distortion in the sound or clipping in some songs. And I definitely noticed it, particularly on the song Take Me With You, where the vocals in the choruses, especially Apollonia's vocals when she hits the higher notes, you really get, there's a lot of distortion there. And it's kind of a shame that it could have been a better remaster and it wasn't, but it is what it is, and what are you going to do about it now? If you're happy, you know, with the original version of Purple Rain, just stick with that album as far as listening to that version of the album. I've heard that the vinyl version is better, but I'm kind of hesitant to pick it up and check it out myself just because I'm fairly disappointed with this remaster of the album. And as far as the vinyl versions of the album go, Kevin Gray did a nice cut of the album about 2012, 2013 that is solid, so I'm good with that. Second thing I want to hear and say sort of negative about this, and granted, this is armchair quarterbacking, but I think it was a very missed opportunity not to make this a true expanded soundtrack, which was one of the things that was originally proposed for this and talked about. And by that, I mean including all the tracks from the original soundtrack that weren't included on the original Purple Rain album. Now, granted, I get why they did it, because then it goes from being a Prince and the Revolution album to just really being a soundtrack, because you got multiple artists on it. But it would have been awesome to have the songs from the time, like Jungle Love and the Bird, Apollonia 6's Sex Shooter, Des Dickinson's Modern Air that's not on here, former Prince guitarist, plus some of the Prince music that was in the film but didn't make it onto the original soundtrack. And some of that stuff is actually included on the bonus disc on it, but it would have been nice to have things like Father's Song, or the track you're hearing right now, Special Dance Mix, or the extended version of Let's Go Crazy, which was the version of the song that was used in the film. It actually opens the movie. I think once you hear this, it just absolutely slays the 45 edit that's on the album. And it's just, this is the version I prefer to hear of the song. So it would have been cool to have a totally expanded actual soundtrack to Purple Rain, but it is what it is, and you got what you got. So let's get on to some of those discs. Disc 2 is the real treasure trove of this set. So if you get the 2-disc set, you're still going to get Disc 2, which has a lot of great stuff on it. And thankfully, the remastering for Disc 2 and Disc 3 were done by somebody else, which was mastering supervisor extraordinaire Bertie Grundman. The guy has done tons of stuff, and he does a real nice job on Disc 2 and Disc 3 of the set. There's lots of killer stuff that had previously only circulated as bootlegs, if at all, but it's nice to finally have it legitimately released here, and great sounding at that. Some of the standouts, tracks like Dance Electric, Love and Sex, Electric Intercourse studio version, Our Destination Roadhouse Garden, and some of these, and Weekend Fuck. So that kind of off. Some of these tracks ended up on, there was a 3-disc version of the Crystal Ball album, then there was a limited edition 5-disc version. Some of these songs that ended up at that at one point, but that's long out of print, you can't find that anymore. But I was particularly excited to have the extended hallway speech version of Computer Blue, which is, again, it's a much lengthier track of the song. There's actually longer versions of it out there and shorter versions of it. But again, once you hear that version, that's my preferred version to hear of the song. The version that's on the Purple Rain album is nice, but I like the extended version so much better, so it's great to have that here, as well as Father's Song, which had never been released before. You get that, you know, that's the little piano piece he plays in the movie, so that's on here too, which is great. Moving on to Disc 3, this one's kind of a mixed bag, depending on how much you like 7-inch versions and extended versions of songs. Now, there's a lot of people that like 7-inch edits. I, for one, kind of find it unnecessary, especially since a lot of these were already used on last year's Prince Forever 2-disc compilation, so they're already out there, kind of didn't really need to be here. That could have freed up space for other stuff that could have been on this set that wasn't, and there's a lot of it. But just a couple things offhand that I can think of. The original extended version of Purple Rain, with the extra verse and the lengthier guitar solo that was recorded live in August 3rd, 1983 at the Minnesota Dance Theater benefit Prince put on, where basically a lot of the bones of songs that ended up on Purple Rain were recorded there. It was Wendy Melvoin's debut with the band too. And it would have been cooler to have those there, but, you know, they're not. I get kind of what they did with the 3rd disc is basically like, these were all the singles that were released off of Purple Rain, and, you know, so you get all the B-sides from those singles, you get the single edits, and you get the extended versions. I won't complain about the extended versions, because you get the track you just heard, which was Let's Go Crazy, the extended version of that, and I'm happy to have all the B-sides in a nicer sounding format. A lot of them were previously issued on the 1993 compilation that hits the B-sides, the 3-disc set, but they sound far better here. Tracks like Erotic City, one of my all-time favorite Prince songs. There's a B-side, 17 Days, Another Lonely Christmas, and God, instrumental version, which was previously, makes its CD debut here, was previously only available on a UK 12-inch, which I own. But it's nice to finally have it on CD. The vocal version of it's out there, but I actually prefer the instrumental version to the vocal version, so it's nice to finally have that here. And, you know, again, discs 2 and 3, good. It's going to depend on what you want out of it. For me personally, it's kind of a mixed bag. I like some of it. I'm disappointed in some of it too. But again, as I said, it's nice to have better quality versions of these songs finally available, sounding good. Now, if you're familiar with Prince's bootleg stuff, you know a lot of the other great stuff that could have been it on here. But if you're unaware of it, then it might be better for you because you don't know what you're missing. So that might work out better for you. You could listen to this set and think it's absolutely awesome all the way through, and there's not any issues with it, and there's nothing lacking for you. And hopefully, if that's your experience, awesome, you know. But even if you're a Prince fan, I think for the music part of this disc, you're going to be pretty impressed with what is on it, or happy to have these versions of it. Lastly, let's not forget about disc 4, which is the live concert. Okay, now, first off, pardon me while I rub my eye there. Given today's technology standards, the quality of this concert when you're viewing it is going to seem like maybe slightly above bootleg. You can actually film better quality footage of a concert right now with your phone than what was kind of available for them to use then, even though back then it was top of the line cutting technology. And you can chalk that also up to the source material itself. They filmed this with video, VHS video back in the day, which, while it seemed awesome back then, sure doesn't hold up to today's standards with the amount of interlacing lines of information that's available there. There's only so much you can do to improve upon that. So they did the best that they could, and in the scenes where things are light and lit up, it actually looks pretty decent. It's passable, but in the darker scenes, it's kind of a nightmare of trying to figure out what the hell is going on in some of those scenes. And it's unfortunate, like if they had actually filmed this with film like they did Sign of the Times, they could have cleaned it up and it would have looked a lot better and been a much nicer presentation. But otherwise, it's still nice to have this long out of print concert available again, because it's a really nice time capsule of Prince and the Revolution performing live at like pretty much the height of their career back then, and doing a killer 19-song set with a great song selection. You get most of the Purple Rain album, you get some cool B-sides and other tracks that you wouldn't otherwise hear. There's a great star-studded group of people who show up at the end of Baby I'm Star, which was a song where they would usually blow stuff up and invite all sorts of people up on stage. That's pretty cool, and the sound quality is really good too, so that's a plus. But you know, overall, even though this set has some missed opportunities, it's not terrible by any means, and for the price, which I think it usually averages around $30 or less depending on where you get it, I got it for just a little over 20. It's still very much worth getting, especially if you're a Prince fan, and it's worth only. I would recommend getting this 4-disc version over just the simple 2-disc version, because you just get so much more content, and I think it's worth it to have that content. But Prince, Purple Rain, Ultimate Collector's Edition, even though it's not really close enough, out now. Definitely go and pick it up. And that's the show for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I apologize if this isn't up to normal show standards, if it's a little rushed, but I just started up a new job last week, and it's been really taxing, and just tried to get a show out, period, this week. So here you go. Hopefully it wasn't too terrible. We will catch you next time on Sit and Spin, and talk to you then. See ya.